to my video. I'm Ahmet Deveci of CCTV Aware. In this video, I'm going to be unboxing some products that Qvis have kindly lent me to run through a test. Those products are part of their Viper range. It's a 2 megapixel, 6 megapixel and an 8 megapixel IP turret camera. The cameras that I've currently got to test, they're all white in colour, but I'm told, and from the boxes we can see, that they do come in a black, kind of a dark grey metalish colour. So part of the video, I want to test to see what the cameras are like, individually in a box, what comes in the box, and how good they work in a real life scenario. I'll run through the unboxing of one of these cameras, but in theory, all three of them are exactly the same, with the exception of the 6 megapixel camera that comes with the built-in microphone, which is a nice little addition to IP cameras today. Camera casings themselves look to me as if they're made from a aluminium type construction, very sturdy and feel good in the hand. The camera dome part of the design is actually held into place using a very small Allen key that you can see here that's also supplied within the box. Looking at the camera itself, you can see it's a three-part design. You've got the bottom part of the base, you've got the middle section, which is the actual camera, and a nice length on the lead that comes off the back of the camera there as well. I found was quite beneficial, especially when trying to fish through walls and cavities or soffits and so on. If you look at the front of the camera itself, quite a clean design, got the lens in the middle, and the outer edge is the IR with the IR sensor and the little built-in microphone pinhole there as well. Overall, I quite like the design of this camera. It's very nice and feels quite premium to hold in the hand. If we look at the actual NVR side of this system, I'm told this is part of the Viper range. Qvis's more modern system is supposed to be quite intuitive in terms of its user functionality, which we will do later on in the video. Looking at the back of the NVR, pretty standard with what you'd expect to see. Looking at the main ports on the back, this is a 4-channel NVR, so you've got your 4 main ports. Those ports are PoE. You've got your audio in, and you've got your LAN and a USB. There is no VGA or BNC out. I think I would have liked to have seen the additional VGA out, just for those occasions where the customer may need either 2 outputs or specifically needs VGA. When I fired the NVR up, I found the usual splash screen that was apparent that you'd expect to see from any new NVR CCTV system setup. The setup process was fairly simple, although I was a little bit surprised to see that the standard password was still 123456. I would have liked to have seen an unactivated NVR and for me to have had to put the password in myself. Once I entered the password of 123456, the system does prompt me to change that password, but you can just cancel out of it and continue using the system as you would do without changing the password. For me, that's a little bit of bad practice now, especially given with the amount of backdoor entries that we've had, the amount of hacks that we've had for systems online. Doesn't take a genius to work out if you haven't changed the password on a standard Qvis system, it's going to be 123456. Maybe that's something you might want to consider, Qvis, if you're watching the video. Try and get the system to be in an inactive state once it's first switched on, therefore forcing the installer or the integrator to set a password at first. The initial setup screen to me came across quite nice. I actually like the user interface of the Qvis system, very user friendly, with lots of nice functions and options there available. I particularly liked the playback option that gave the user the option to play back either instantaneously for a minute, 30 seconds or 5 minutes. That in itself is quite handy for real life scenarios, and to me it looks like whoever's designed that thought of the end user in a real life scenario. I found the system itself overall was pretty quick to use and operate. Once I inserted any one of the cameras into the PoE slot, it took about a minute, no more than that. The camera itself fired up, camera booted online, and you could see it there on the screen. Connection was made with its own internal IP. that was quite nice to see. During the tests of the cameras themselves, this is far from a scientific test. It was sat in a garage which is attached to the side of the building. There's a light in there. I can adjust the light on and off. I put all 3 cameras in there for test and tested them for their IR responsiveness and how clear the image was overall. I'm sure you can make your own decisions as to what you think was good out of those 3 pictures, but I found even the 2 megapixel provided a nice clear image, then the 6 and then the 4K model was even nicer so. All 3 seemed to respond just as quick as each other when the light came off and then back on. In fact, compared to the other Hikvision camera that I've got in there, some of these cameras actually responded quicker than the Hikvision one. NVRs on their own are great, but as we know, everybody wants a CCTV on their mobile phone or a mobile device such as an iPad. So I ran through the tests of how easy it was to add this system to my mobile phone. First of all, I was informed that the app to use was called Super Live Pro Plus. To me, I thought, okay, I would have preferred to have seen an app that was specifically developed by Qvis themselves, because I find that gives the end user a little bit more confidence in using that app, especially when it comes to the security of that app. Nonetheless, I found the app itself was easy enough to download from the App Store, it had good ratings and was fairly straightforward to set up. The app itself, even though not specifically designed in-house by Qvis, I found the functionalities of the app more than sufficient for those wanting to use on a day-to-day basis. I initially added the app and with a local MVR, if you like, so not going through the internet, just internally. That was fairly straightforward with no issues. I then wanted to test the cloud P2P functionality of the system. Again, a little bit confusing because I don't feel it's Qvis's managed platform. It may be, but the address that you're presented with doesn't appear to be that it's owned by Qvis themselves. Nonetheless, the installation process of that cloud platform was very easy and straightforward. So long as the IP ranges and the ports and that were open, specifically for what the MVR requests, I found that the cloud platform worked very well. No issues there whatsoever, very simple to add, and again, all functionality you'd like to expect from an app I found was within there, which was always good to see. So what are my overall opinions of Qvis since I've had an entire day to have another test with them again, their 3 range of cameras and their mobile app? The last time I used Qvis products was about 4 to 5 years ago, when I ran through the initial R&D process of checking out what systems were good to use from many perspectives, from user interface, cost, availability, specs, so on and so forth. I was pleasantly surprised to find that the Qvis system performed really well. It's certainly a product that I would look at in the future should I ever decide to come away from our current product offering lineups. Qvis to me looks they've come leaps and boundaries from when I first used them. They seem to have taken on user input and feedback over the years, and they seem to be developing a product that is certainly, from my perspective, a product that I would certainly recommend in the near future.